Welcome to our tutorial on the PrimeNet Kiosk app. The PrimeNet Kiosk app is basically an app on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store that you can download into your tablet and turn a tablet into a time clock. Once you do this, it will take over the time clock rather than just being a separate app on the time clock. So once the app is brought up, it would need a administrator with the credentials to be able to close the app to access other items on the tablet. So once you've downloaded from the App Store the PrimeNet Kiosk app and installed it, you'll click on the three dashes in the upper right, and then you'll tap on the settings over here, right here, yes. You need to put a card ID and a PIN, and you need to remember this because this is what you'll use to get into the admin settings in the future if you need to. We need this serial number to enter into the software, and you'll need the URL entered here that you've been given. Once you've got this complete, you will click OK. Now, before I click OK on here, though, I'm going to add this in on the software side so that I can come back here and click OK and have the two connect. So let me share that screen out. And we're in the time clock server 9. So that's under configuration, time clock server 9. I click on this. Yep, that's fine. And here we are. Now, I've already got a server set up and a couple of clocks in here. They're not connected. We can see that because they're red. Also, I can click here and then click on activity, and I can see the last time that this particular device was connected. If you do not have a server already in here, then we would hold our mouse over the clock server, right click, and select add group. And you can really call it whatever you want in here. Normally I use a company name, but I'm going to use tablet right now. Save that. And there we go. So I click on tablet. I don't have anything defined in it, but I'm going to right click on it and select add Android device. Now, if you're adding an Apple tablet, that's fine. You're still going to click on add Android device. We need to put the serial number, and I'm going to cheat and copy and paste that in here. You're going to give it a description so that if something needs to be checked on a clock, we know which clock you're at in the software while somebody's at the clock doing things. We'll make this active, and we're going to choose tablet app. Again, tablet app, regardless whether it's Android or Apple, it's still the tablet app. You have two different options for authentication: simply using a card ID to clock in or out, or using the card ID and a PIN to clock in or out. Now, if you decide to use this level, your employees will need to have a PIN assigned, and chances are they already do. It's the same as their card ID, but you'll want to make sure that they do have their PIN assigned so that they don't run into troubles trying to clock in or out. Next is going to be our time zone. You'll select the correct time zone for where you're at. Then what do we want to show up on the time clock for the employees? Well, start and end, which is clock in or out. Enable switch would be the transfer, to be able to transfer departments. Enable break is just the short 15-minute breaks. Then we have the lunch, which is our meal. We can do this one. You've also got other things they can do on here. View their PTO, their schedule, their timesheet. These are great. Um, they're better in the web clock for the employee. The last thing you want is for a line of 20 people at your tablet while somebody's in there spending 30 minutes trying to figure out when they want to take time off. But again, this is up to you on what you decide to choose for the employees to be able to see. The attestation questions have to be set up within the software. Um, Under our questions here, once those are set up, you could select to use that. And what this does is when an employee clocks out, it would be able to ask them, have you had all of your meals and uninterrupted 30-minute meal break, or have you had any injuries that were not reported to your employer? It could be a couple different questions. Um, and they would just simply tap yes or no on those questions. We can require the tablet to take a picture of the person clocking in and out. The level hierarchy plan is going to be a plan that is created, or a policy, if you will, either or. But you would create that, and then you would have specific, let's say your company has 120 departments altogether. Well, a level hierarchy plan, you may only create that and have in there 12 departments. And in that case, you would enforce the level hierarchy plan that you assign to the employee, because you could literally have hundreds of level hierarchy plans if you wanted to. Maybe each employee needs two different departments, and you've got 30 employees that all do different departments from one another. So that would require multiple level hierarchies that would be created, and then the particular hierarchy is assigned to the employee or employees. And by selecting this, if we had the enable switch, when the employee is changing departments, they're only going to see the departments that you've given them access to. So that's what that's for. COVID questions, we don't really use anymore. Those are asking them questions when they clock in. Enforce schedule, grace period. How many minutes before they start do you want them to be able to clock in? For some, it could be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute. Depending on how many tablets you got and how many employees you got, you may not have any grace. They may need to clock in exactly at 7 a.m. if that's their scheduled start time. Same with the grace hour. The tip prompt in English, tip prompt in Spanish. So when they clock out, it's going to ask them for what they received in tips. Quantities, if need be, piece count type thing. Duplicate punch tolerance, you're always going to want to keep this on at least one. There's a lot of employees out there that are so used to double clicking things or double tapping things, and you don't want those employees to constantly be having duplicate punches show up in their timesheet. So this is going to alleviate that. Now, having said that, if you do run into that type of employee, when they double tap, the system's going to take their first punch, and then now it's going to give them an error that says duplicate punch. Just as long as you've trained the employees how to clock in and out, you're fine. But maybe training them, if they receive the duplicate punch error, that means that the system already took a punch of them in the last minute, or if you've got it set to 5 minutes, the last 5 minutes. and the one they just did is a duplicate. And duplicate's misleading. They could have clocked in at 7 a.m. and then 20 seconds later turned around and tried to clock out. That's going to be considered as a duplicate punch. It's just uh, two punches within the same minute, basically. Then we've got the minimum lunch. If you're in a state that requires the employee to be clocked out for a certain amount of time before they're able to clock in, then you need to put this here. It's important to train the employees that when they clock in, to watch, when they clock in from lunch, to watch the bottom. If they get a green check mark in the box with their name, they're fine. But if they try to clock in early, they may receive minimum time not met. Please try again later. If they're not watching for that, they could simply just walk away, and now you've got an in punch for lunch with no lunch out punch. This stays at 30 minutes here. Card ID offset is going to be 0, and length is going to be 0. So we've got the things set up that we want right here. And I'll just put view timesheet here. And we click save. My clock is saved successfully. Now I want to come over to my schedule, click the plus. I want to send a setup. I don't want it to be recurring. I do need to have a number here. It doesn't matter what the number is, but it just needs to be something here in order to click save. But I want it to be active and immediate. And now I'm going to have it send templates, which are synchronized templates. This is going to push employees from the software to the tablet, which means only employees that are in the software are going to be able to clock in or out. So I'm going to do active, immediate, and recurring for this. It depends on how often you're hiring employees, what your turnover is. If you've got a lot of turnover, you may do every 120 minutes. That's every 2 hours. But more than likely, once a day is going to be fine. And we can do it somewhere that employees are not really going to be clocking. It doesn't take long to do this, but if we set it at 12 noon, people start to clock out at 12, and now it's getting the users. They're going to be waiting for 10, 15 seconds, depending on how many employees you have. You don't want that. So we set it at a time that's not going to coincide with people clocking in or out. Maybe we set it for 9 a.m. And every day at 9:46, if there's any new employees that have been entered to the system from yesterday up until now, it will send them, and then those employees will be able to clock in or out. Maybe you want this before business hours, so anybody you added yesterday, when they come into work in the morning at 7 a.m., they'll be able to clock in. Up to you on how you do that, but that's what this is for here. The other things in here is level codes. If they're going to be switching departments or position, job, whatever you've got them set up to do, you'll need to set this up. And again, same as the templates, how often do you anticipate putting your jobs in the system, or positions or departments, whatever you're having the employees change? If it's not that often, then daily will do it. And you can have that in here and set it to recurring. 1440 is just 24 hours. I click save, and there we go. Once it connects to the clock and uploads all these things, you'll see X's in here. Any of them that have the check mark on recurring will do what it needs to at these times each day, based on how often this is set. So now that I've got these in here, I need to save this. Clock saved successfully, and I'm back to this screen. Now, if I am switching departments or requiring that, I'm going to go to my levels, and I'm going to choose which one I may be having them switch. And maybe it's job 1. Required means that the job is going to be required. If I've got none here, I would put a prompt in English, and then a prompt in Spanish. And I don't know what that is right offhand. I usually have to do a Google Translate so that I put that in here. Um, so putting it just like this allows the employees to choose from the specific jobs that are available to them when they're clocking in or when they're transferring or switching departments. But if this is in a specific spot and I've got multiple tablets at different locations, I may want to use my division or a location if I've got that in here, or client. Maybe we'll use client. And then we'll go down and choose which client this tablet sets at. So it's going to automatically attach this to the employee's punch when they clock in to this tablet. I don't need any of this down here because it's not going to ask them to choose it. It's going to do it automatically. And there we go. And each tablet that I would set up, I would uh, add these things in for the different locations if that was the case. Clock saved successfully and okay. Now I see it's green over here, so it's actually connected. Um, I do see that it has downloaded some things here, and that's fine. But I do see that it hasn't actually sent anything that I've done in here, which is also fine. So with this being properly set up, we go back to our tablet. And here we are back at our tablet. And again, I press the three dashes at the top. I press settings. I'm here. I need to add my admin ID and my admin PIN. I need to make sure the time clock server is correct. I need to make sure this is placed over here. So once I've got my clock set up here in the software, then I'm going to click OK. And down here, successfully connected to server. And that's going to show up in the activity. When I go to clock in, I click start, the employee number, and there we go, punch accepted successfully. I go to lunch, I can click lunch leave, the employee number, and duplicate punch, please try again later. So I have to wait until this says 9:53 before I can actually go to lunch. There we go. Punch accepted. So I'm now at lunch, and I can see that right up here. Now the clock is ready for someone else. View timesheets. I added that. And we can see here, I can come back here and look at prior pay periods, out, totals, my total paid, what I worked, what I didn't work, what was unpaid, any dollar amounts like bonus, tip, or commission that was given to me. So just a nice screen here to be able to take a quick look at any question that I had about my time. Now I'm just waiting for the 9:53 to finish. We have that 30-minute lunch rule on here, and 30 minutes means 30 minutes. So if I clock out at, let's say 9:54 and 10 seconds, I clock out for lunch. And then I come back and clock in at 10:24 and 3 seconds. It's not going to let me because that's only 29 minutes and 50 some odd seconds. It has to be 30 minutes exactly before it's going to let me clock back in. So if I tried to click lunch return here, my number, this right here, I've got to pay attention to minimum lunch duration not met. That means it hasn't been 30 minutes yet. So it's important to train the employees what to look for and why they're getting that message, and that they need to go back and wait until it's been 30 minutes. Or if they're being called back to work, they have to make sure their supervisor knows so that the supervisor can go in and add their lunch return time manually. And back here in the time clock server, clock configuration requested, hierarchy plans requested, uh, templates. These are the employees and things like that. Um, let's refresh it here. And we can see all of that is done. And it will synchronize templates and level codes as it goes. So if we look over here at our employee, number 51, look at her punch where she just clocked in. And we can see it's got her set at Mr. Jones. So all of the time from this is going to go to that client. So that's how you add a tablet kiosk. Those are the different options of a tablet kiosk. I hope this helps. And as always, have a great day.